Every year in the game of baseball, players produce seasons that stand the test of time and are remembered forever in baseball history. I'm talking Shohei Ohtani of this season with his 50-50 campaign, 1968 Bob Gibson, 2004 Barry Bonds, and many others. However, there are some seasons, while maybe not as great as the ones I just mentioned, are completely lost in baseball history and are forgotten by the vast majority of baseball fans, even the hardcore ones like myself. This is the beginning of a series of videos I'm going to create that highlight many great yet completely forgotten seasons in recent baseball history, and I figured none would be a better start than a season that hits close to home. This guy dominated my hopeless Pirates for almost all of the mid and late 2000s. I am talking the near MVP campaign of Derrek Lee in 2005. Before we begin, please like and subscribe as it helps the channel grow tremendously. I love making baseball content for you guys and I want to be able to keep doing so. Liking and subscribing will very much help grow the channel. Also, leave a comment on what player or season of a player I should do next. And with that out of the way, my name is Butler's Baseball Bits, and this is the incredible 2005 season and career of Derrek Lee. Before we really dig into the information of this video, we need to travel back further in time and answer the real question: who is Derrek Lee? Well, Derrek Lee was born on September 6, 1975, in Sacramento, California. Lee's family has a rich baseball history, as both his dad and his uncle, Leon and Leron, very similar names, were both professional players who achieved massive success in the Nippon Pro Baseball League in Japan. Lee spent most of his early childhood in Japan, as his dad was currently playing baseball over there, as well as spending most of the summers in Japan over his high school years. Lee was an elite high school recruit at his high school and drafted straight out of high school by the San Diego Padres in 1993 as the 14th overall pick of the draft, along with other notables such as Alex Rodriguez, Billy Wagner, and Scott Rowland, just to name a few. Lee was an intriguing player in terms of a prospect, as he had immense power as well as solid speed despite being 6'5" and 235 pounds. He was also a quick riser through the ranks, reaching AA by the age of 19 and AAA at the young age of 21. He did, however, show massive contact concerns, striking out a tremendous 170 times in 134 AA contests. Despite that, he still put up 34 homers with a 280 average and a 930 OPS. On April 28, 1997, Derrek Lee finally made his debut for the Padres, playing first base and hitting sixth. He ended the game getting his first hit as well as 2 walks, going 1 for 3 in a 12-9 loss to the Marlins. We'll get to them later. He got consistent playing time for the Padres for the next 2 weeks. However, he struggled mightily, hitting 200 with a 551 OPS. The contact concerns that showed in the minors bit him in the majors, striking out 16 times over only 30 at-bats. However, though, he had also failed to showcase the power he displayed in the minors, with no extra base hits in this span. On May 12th, he was demoted to AAA, where he immediately performed great there, all the way to his next promotion on September 3rd, 1997. By the way, I'm not showing Padres film here for Derrek Lee because, despite how long I looked, there is no Padres film of him available anywhere. MLB Film Room doesn't have it, YouTube doesn't have it, so you're just going to get some Cubs highlights. Before the 1998 season, Lee, along with minor league pitchers Rafael Medina and Steve Huff, were traded to the Marlins for right-handed pitcher Kevin Brown. Brown was coming off 2 dominant seasons for the Marlins, who were also fresh off a 1997 World Series win. Yet, right after the World Series win, the owner decided to have a fire sale that same offseason, leaving them with almost no returning talent. Marlin fans, I'm deeply sorry. This allowed Lee to immediately get playing time, though, as the starting first baseman for arguably the worst team in all of baseball. In a team that went 54 and 108, Lee showed positive signs. This would continue through the end of the century. Lee had a fairly average 1998, followed by a brutal 1999, which was marred by injuries as well as just straight-up poor performance. The Marlins, however, were improving, as they still sat at 64 and 98, a far cry from 1997, but a massive improvement over the 54 and 108 the year prior. However, the turn of the century marked a new era for both the Marlins as well as Lee himself. With a young hitting core of Derrek Lee, Luis Castillo, Cliff Floyd, and Mike Lowell, along with others such as Alex Gonzalez, Mark Kotze, and Preston Wilson, the Marlins looked to be contenders in the near future. He enjoyed a breakout campaign as he bashed 28 homers while hitting 281, along with an OPS of 875 as the Marlins played near 500 ball. The next 3 years included much of the same, a batting average close to 300, 20 to 30 homers, 100 RBIs, and an OPS plus of 131 in both 2002 and 2003. His play was finally rewarded in 2003, both individually and as a team, as he won a Gold Glove, as well as finally receiving MVP votes for the first time in his career. The Marlins also happened to win their second ever World Series in 2003, beating the Yankees 4-2, in which Lee played a crucial part for his defense as well as his bat. Little did Lee know, though, that World Series win was the final game he would ever don a Florida Marlins uniform, as on November 24th, 2003, the Marlins shockingly traded away Lee to the Cubs for first baseman Hee-Seop Choi and right-handed pitcher Mike Nannini. This was an interesting trade, as Lee's father, Leon, was actually the one to scout Choi years before. What a small world. Lee, in the meantime, became an instant star for the Cubs. In 2004, Lee played in 161 games and slugged 32 homers and 98 RBIs while batting .278 with an .860 OPS. Good for a 118 OPS plus. The Cubs came into 2005 with a new identity, 2 years removed from this famous Steve Bartman incident, as well as 1 year away from an 89-win season. Longtime face of the franchise, Sammy Sosa, was traded to Baltimore after a very unceremonious end of his 2004 season. This meant that Derrek Lee as well as Aramis Ramirez were now the two main spearheads of the Cubs lineup. This was a new turn of the page for the Cubs, as their team had gotten remarkably younger, as well as having some experienced people to still get them through into the playoffs. Lee started the year off roaring hot, hitting 7 homers in April, another 9 in May, tack on another 7 in June, and Lee was at 23 through only 77 games. His overall first half stats read off his video game numbers: 27 doubles as well as 27 home runs, 72 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, an average of .378, an on-base percentage of .452, and a slugging of .733. This gave him an OPS of 1.186 and an OPS plus of a ridiculous .211. Yes, you heard those last two right. A big reason for this success was the massive improvements in his contact skills, as I had talked about earlier. Through 315 at-bats, he had only struck out 61 times, along with 42 walks. For the power that he showed and the size that he possessed, a 1 in 5 strikeout rate was an elite mark. Lee was also overly dominant when the Cubs won, slashing .410 with an insane .490 on base and an .840 slugging for an OPS of a mind-boggling 1.340. His second half wasn't as elite as the first, but it was still great, slashing .287 with a .380 on base, a .581 slugging for an OPS of .960. He was also remarkably consistent, never having an average in a month below .284 or an OPS lower than .958. Overall, Lee ended the season with terrific numbers, ending the season with 46 homers and 107 RBIs to go with a league-leading average of .335 and an OPS of 1.080. Lee would hope to keep his incredible form going into 2006, but had injuries quickly get in the way. On April 21st, Lee collided with Rafael Furcal after Furcal attempted to beat out a bunt single. This left Lee with 2 broken bones in his right wrist and kept him sidelined all the way until early August. From then on, Lee never gained back the prolific raw power he possessed. He was still a great hitter, posting OPS plus marks of 130, 109, and 146 from 2007 to 2009, but had a tough 2010 before being traded at the deadline to the Atlanta Braves. 2011 saw him head over to Baltimore on a 1-year prove-it deal worth $7.25 million. However, his time in Baltimore was a big disappointment, having only a .706 OPS through 85 games. Once again, he was moved at the deadline, this time to my beloved Pittsburgh Pirates, where Lee shined, batting .337 with a .982 OPS over 101 ABs. However, this would be the last we saw of Lee in the MLB, as at the end of the season, Lee retired after not fielding good enough offers in free agency. For as much as I viewed the second half of Lee's career as a what-if, he still put up an exceptional career. He ended his career with an average of .281 and an OPS of .859, along with 331 homers, 1,078 RBIs, 2 All-Star games, 3 Gold Gloves, and a Silver Slugger. I do understand why Lee was forgotten, even though I think he never should have been. The 2000s had loads of emerging stars at first base, especially in the National League. Just to name a few, you have Ryan Howard, Prince Fielder, Albert Pujols, Adrian Gonzalez, and Joey Votto. And with that, I thank you guys so much for watching my first ever video on this channel. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as comment below some other seasons or players you'd like me to talk about. Have a good day, and peace out, y'all.